It is loud. Let's get started. We do not have a quorum, but I think we can stall through some formalities, and I think somebody's going to show up. Welcome to the Senate Judiciary Committee. If you want to be heard on one of the bills, please sign up down here. We have a hard stop at 3:30 today, so chances are we'll get nothing done, but we're going to do our best we can. So I'll start by having Dr. Watson from the coast of Savannah. I'm stalling a little longer. If you will please open us up and do like the pastors in the morning when you do your prayer, do a devotion and a prayer, if you will. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that
You're
very
welcome.
much. Yes. Let us go to prayer, please. Dear Lord, thank you for looking over us this week. Continue to let us make decisions in your eyes. Continue to bless us, bless the people in this room, bless the Capitol, and bless those traveling to and from. Continue to look over us. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. My dad he does a really long amen to drag it on. Well, we can start with some testimony. Is Senator Bearden still here? He stuck around. Come on up to the front, please. We're going to start with what I think is our most difficult bill. Senate Bill 88. We are working off of LC 473276. You want to tell us about the bill?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Like I said, I'm bringing forward Senate Bill 88, LC 473276. This bill is just to add the 4th Superior Court Judge to Douglas County Judicial Circuit. This legislation was requested by the Chief Judge of Douglas County, Judge Cynthia Adams, who is with us in the crowd today, so glad to have her with us. Douglas County ranks number 2 for a new judgeship. And in fact, this should have been done last year, but the bill that came over got to us too late from the House on Sunday night, so it wasn't able to get.
You couldn't get it done last year?
I could have got it done. That's why we're starting the Senate this time to make sure it does get done.
So it got delayed another year because you weren't able to get it done?
Because of the House, yes, sir.
Okay. Weren't you in the House before?
And it fell completely apart when we left.
Okay.
So we're trying to get going again. So with that, we are taking the lead in the Senate, and the funding for the new judgeship was included in the governor's recommended budget on page 74, line 7 for fiscal year 26. With that, I did speak to Chairman Tillery. There he is. Because in the bill, it has a certain date of July 1st, 2025. He said that probably should be moved to January 1st, 2026. And if that's the case, we'd like to go ahead and see if we can amend the bill here to make sure we don't have the problems that we had in the House last year.
Or that we had last week in this committee where we moved a bill out with the wrong dates. Yeah, you were here, I think, actually, for it. Okay. So if we move the July 1st, 2025 on line 22, the January 1st, 2026, wouldn't we also move the 26 on line 23 to 28?
Yes, sir.
And we would move the 26 on line 26 to 28.
Correct.
And the 27 to 29.
Correct.
But otherwise, January 1 is still going to be correct on line 26?
January 1, 26. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong one.
Yeah, I did it in a really backwards way. But basically, the line 22, July 1, 2025, will be January 1st, 2026.
Correct.
Tell me if any of this is wrong. Line 23, December 31st, 2026, will be December 31st, 2028. Line 26, 2026 will be 2028. January 1, 2027 will be January 1, 2029.
Correct.
Is that all correct?
Yes, sir.
Chairman Tillery, do you have something you want to say?
Thank you, Chairman Hatch. Senator, thanks for calling here today. The AOC used to recommend 3 judgeships to us each year. Do you know how many they've recommended for us to fund this year?
No, I do not.
I think the number could have been 10, I think. Help me understand why we should pick yours over the other 7.
I'm glad you brought that up, Senator.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it was in critical need last year, As I told the esteemed chairman that this was something we tried to get done last year, the ball was dropped in the House, so we're picking it up to make sure it's done this year, to make sure Douglas County can continue to provide justice, especially for the victims of the county. And
Weren't you number 2 on the list
Yes,
though,
sir,
this
I am.
year? So the other bill we did last week, I think, was number 1. This might be number 2, if I remember correctly.
Senator, do you think that the chairman's answer is better than yours?
Oh, the
Yes.
chairman's answer is always better
Always
than mine,
better.
100%.
By the way, Judge Adams, I meant to recognize you when we started. Thanks for being with us today. Do you want to come up and add anything to what's been said, or?
If there are any questions, I think that certainly, Chairman, what you mentioned about Douglas County being number 2 this year. I think last year we were number 3, and of course, with our workload numbers, we are now at number 2. And so, again, we would just really appreciate it. And if there are any other questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Or I think we also have members from Judicial Council that are here as well that work with the numbers and probably can answer better than I can.
Well, thank you, Judge Adams, for all the 10s that are watching online. She was highlighting the fact that they were number 3 on the list and moved up to number 2.
There may have not been 10, Mr. Chairman. I think there were like 6 or 7, though.
We're trying to get the double digits.
Trying to push up this year.
We hit 30 apparently on Monday night, our primetime event.
And I was one of them.
Yeah.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Does Douglas County have locality pay? Local supplements?
I'm going to turn that over to the judge. I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I just wonder what local supplement is.
Okay.
We do have a,
Come on up, Judge. That way we do have you on the mic for the 8 people. I added up. It is your moment.
Judge, glad that you could be here for my hazing.
We do have a quorum now if you are just stalling,
We've
Chairman
stalled.
Tillery.
Okay, now we got a quorum.
well, thank you so much again. And yes, Senator, there is a locality pay in Douglas County that the judges are very appreciative of, that our commissioners have allowed us to do the work. It helps, again, because not only are we right now number 2 because we're doing the work of 4.5 judges, essentially. 3 judges are doing that, but we're also running our accountability courts as well, and doing a great job for the citizens of the county, hopefully.
Do you know the amount of the locality supplement in Douglas? I'm just wondering. I'm curious. I've heard them all over the place.
You got me on that one. I will say that I believe that it's probably about 35 or 42. I'm ashamed to say that when I got appointed by Governor Deal for this position, my husband got at me because he said, do you realize that you did not get the paperwork in to actually get paid, so you haven't been paid for about a little over a month. But I think that those are the numbers. I think the locality pay is right at about 42 or so.
Thank you. I think we do have a quorum now, Mr. Chairman, so I'll quit asking questions. But Judge,
Please, thank you. And Judge, you don't have to answer any questions. You can always plead the 5th. You know. I do that with Chairman Tillery all the time.
I was going to say that option probably should have been given to me before I started answering questions, I guess. But no, I have no
Dr.
problem answering any
Watson
questions.
always likes to make motions. Dr. Watson,
I do like to make motions.
would you like to make one now?
Yes, I would.
What is the
Make
motion?
a motion do pass on
By committee substitute.
by committee substitute
we're gonna do that after
SB
the
88 LC 473276.
I messed up. It's not committee
No,
substitute.
it's not a substitute.
Let's
Oh, it
test
is. It needs to be amended.
Let's
Right.
make the motion
So let's
do
make
pass.
a motion do pass.
We have a second from Senator Cowsert. The amendment that was proposed, I can say it one more time, was to strike on line 22, July 1st, 2025, and make it January 1st, 2026. On line 23, it would change December 31st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028. And then on line 26, it would change 2026 to 2028, and January 1st, 2027 to January 1st, 2029. Is that consistent with what the author wants?
Hit us.
Senator Tillery offer that amendment. Is there a second from Senator
Second.
Watson? A second.
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Underlying motion do pass now as amended. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for being
Thank
with
you so
us
very much.
and
Thank
letting
you
us
so much.
humor ourselves for a little bit and waiting on
Thank
us.
you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and the committee.
Glad you finally got a bill for now. All right. I don't think so.
I've had many bills in the Senate Judiciary over the years.
Not that he's counting it. All right. We're going to go to SB 40. Come on up, Senator Edge. Excuse me, Mr. Edge. Senator Hatchett had to ride back north earlier today. He couldn't be with us, but we were still going to let Mr. Edge explain the bill, if you will. We're working off a committee substitute, LC 6090000S.
Correct.
All right, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to present this bill today in place of Senator Hatchett. He's at home. I think his wife's under the weather, and with 4 little girls, he's probably wishing he was back down here where he can get some rest. Senate Bill 40, I will remind the committee that this is almost identical to the bill you passed unanimously last year out of this committee. It passed the Senate overwhelmingly, and then went to the House, where late in the session it was stripped and used as a vehicle for something else, so it did not make it across the finish line. But the Senate has already dealt with this bill. Just very quickly, I know your time is limited, just run through this. In Section 1, we are just moving the definition of what is a used attached catalytic converter to the definition section under the law. And then in Section 2, you'll see where we take it out of that section because we are moving it to that location. That's all that does. Section 3 deals with payment and purchase by secondary metals recyclers for items that are brought to them for sale. I would call the committee's attention to page 4, line 67. A few years ago, the law was passed so that the secondary metals recyclers could pay no more than $100 in cash for any transactions and no more than 2 transactions per seller per day. There was a sunset, 2-year sunset put on that provision that will expire the end of this year. The way we have this bill prepared is that we're taking the sunset out. We've talked to all of the parties and players in this field, including law enforcement and other entities, to make sure there haven't been any surge in thefts and that sort of thing since we put in this provision. There have not been. And so we're asking that the section be like it is, but taking the sunset provision out. One thing, Mr. Chairman, that was inadvertently left out of this in 10.1.355D, which is this subsection, after the language that deals with $100, there are that is in D1 under the current code. After that, there are 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 other limitations on what can be done. For instance, it says no secondary metals recycler shall, number 2, pay cash to seller for used attached catalytic converters. 3, pay cash for used utility wire. 4, pay cash for communications copper. 5, pay cash to any seller for copper wire. Or 6, pay cash for any battery. I've talked to legislative counsel. The intent is to keep 2 through 6 in there. One would be the $100 limitation, and then 2 through 6 I think probably needs to be added back to make it clear we're not taking that out of the law. And so I would ask that be offered either as an amendment or a committee sub, making sure that is done. Section 4. This just deals with a special class of seller, deals with organizations, law enforcement officers, bankruptcy trustees, just clarifying that they can sell catalytic converters to the secondary metals recycler. Section 5 just allows the sheriff to require a secondary metals recycler in a county where they do have business licenses to provide that business license to the sheriff. It also changes the law so that if a person has been convicted in the previous 5 years of a felony, they cannot receive a license as a metals recycler. Before this, it was 3 felonies in 5 years. This would be 1 felony in 5 years, so we're toughening that law up. The same thing on page 6 under section 5, a single felony, we're just squaring that up under the law. And then under line 128, the fee that we paid, $100 goes to the county and $100 goes to the Sheriff's Association to be used for their secondary metals recycler registry, where these purchases are listed so that for any problems with theft, they can be easily detected. Section 6 and 7, again, just deals there. It references the definition of catalytic converter. It just takes out the reference to where it is now and puts it to where it is going to be. That's section 6 and 7. Section 8 is just a correction. Previously, when there were business-to-business sales, not individuals, but business-to-business sales, several years ago, there was no reporting required. Under Senate Bill 60, which the General Assembly passed a few years ago, it did require business-to-business sales to be reported. However, it inadvertently required them to be reported not only as business-to-business sales, but also as individual sales, which was problematic. So we're just changing that so when it's a business-to-business sale, the recycler has to get the name and address of the seller, record the time, place, and date of the transaction, and the number of used catalytic converters that are sold. So that just clarifies the law so that when you're doing a business sale, it's one registry. When you're doing an individual sale, it's another registry. And with that, Mr. Chairman, a lot of this is just sort of cleaning up what was passed a couple of years ago, but I'll be glad to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Edge from the committee? I'm going to ask, you have a question, Senator Tillery?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Edge, where did the $200 fee used to go?
All to the county, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, excuse me, all to the sheriff.
And they were okay now splitting that with the county?
Yes, sir. We've talked with the Sheriff's Association. We've talked to AT&T, Farm Bureau, Georgia Power, all of the people who had problems in the past with these metal thefts. They're all in agreement with the way we're doing this.
And I'm assuming there's a metal Recyclers Association?
Yes, sir. And I represent them.
Help me understand their benefit, why they'd want this bill. It seems like it's more regulation. Help me understand why they'd want it or what it does to their benefit.
Well, there were huge problems with metal theft years ago in the General Assembly. I was involved with that with the original bill several years ago. Matter of fact, former Representative Jason Shaw, now over to PSC, handled that bill. We worked with him on that. We were trying to clean it up so that when people came to us as recyclers, we want to make sure these items weren't stolen, and we didn't want to be dealing with that. And so we toughened up the reporting requirements. We limited what amounts they could sell, what could be paid in cash, all those things. And we worked together with the other interested parties, like I say, some of the utilities and home builders and others who were suffering from metal theft. And it's worked. I think the General Assembly can be very proud. It's worked very, very well. And this just sort of tightens up a few things that we think needed to be cleared up in the law.
Okay.
Chairman Watson?
So I can add a little bit of historical perspective
Yes,
on
sir.
that too. We worked on that with the recyclers, and it was a huge issue. Metal theft was high, and having to do, I can't remember which metal it was it copper or something like that? That's what it was? Mm-hmm. Wow, amazing, I remember that, but that's how painful it was. It was a bargain that was struck, and it has obviously served well, so at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the committee? Now be the appropriate time for a motion.
Motion do pass.
By committee substitute, LC 69000S.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're going to need to add,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do it by amendment or another committee sub.
I'm going to turn over to Ledge Council. We have a second for the motion. Second from Senator Tillery. You want to address the amendment?
For the amendment, we can do it right here or offer a different sub. I have the language up for the amendment if you'd like me to read that and get it done now. Let's do that. So, for the amendment, it would be to amend this bill by striking lines 67 through 69 and replacing it with subsection D, no secondary metal recycler shall, paragraph 1, pay to any seller more than $100 in cash for any transaction or complete more than 2 transactions per seller. per day per registered secondary materials recycler location, semicolon, paragraph 2, pay cash to any seller for used, comma, detached, catalytic converters or coils, semicolon, paragraph 3, pay cash to any seller for used utility wire, semicolon, paragraph 4, pay cash to any seller for used communications copper, semicolon 5, pay cash to any seller for copper wire, semicolon, or paragraph 6, pay cash to any seller for a battery, period.
When you first read, which I think is the existing line 69, you said secondary materials. Is it secondary metals?
It is secondary metals. That
Okay.
was me misreading. So no secondary metal recycler shall, colon.
All right. Chairman Tillery.
So the current language says they can't pay $100 or do more than 2 transactions for anybody. By singling out and listing those examples, what would one of these entities now be able to pay more than $100 or have more than 2 transactions for?
This just would say, the effect of this just would be that you can't pay cash for those items, period, that he listed, 2 through 6.
Yeah, it's the current law. Is-
Current law. We're just making sure it's in there. Is that-
Do you understand what I'm asking?
You're asking, is there anything left to buy?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the answer is, there's a ton of
Come on up to the microphone so our
So, yeah,
Seven people,
essentially what I'm asking is, by making the list, what am I leaving out of the list that now can be paid cash
I took
for?
a load of junk to the, let me rephrase that. Took a load of recovered materials to the
One
SA
man's
recycling
trash is
plant.
another man's treasure.
I
Is that
had
what
a-
we're hearing from the witness?
I had a basketball goal. I had an old lacrosse goal. I had a bunch of nuts and bolts that I had been saving up in a bucket. Had about 65 pounds of stuff and made a quarter on it. But my point is, the list is so long I can't go through it. These specific items are highly sought after by criminal entities. And so by removing the cash opportunity,
Okay,
we are
I
able
understand
to.
what you're trying to do now. I got you. I was looking at the current list and trying to figure that out. Thanks.
We've heard the proposed amendment. Does anybody want to offer it? So moved from Senator Watson. Do we have a second? Is there any discussion or any questions about the proposed amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Amendment, any opposed? Amendment carries unanimously. We're back to the underlying motion to pass by committee substitute as amended. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
you.
committee, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Senator Setzler, are you in the room? We're going to pause just for a minute. All right, we're not gonna. We have a hard stop at 3:30. Senator Setzler was presenting a bill somewhere else. I know a couple people came here to testify on that bill. I apologize. It'll have to be reset to the. Are y'all the ones here? Well, y'all are opposed, so you live another day. Tom is always your friend when you're opposed to something, or you're being sued. Yeah. All right. So, just for the committee's sake, we will not have a meeting on Monday, as requested by some and me. And so we will be back likely at our regularly scheduled time next week, Thursday at 2:00 with knowing it could get delayed just like today. So no hearing on Monday. Everybody enjoy the weekend. We're adjourned. Thank you.